going to football match in the middle of the night, just like an undergoing testing really TV show. A pre-match message instructs me to arrive at Hampden Park in Glasgow 2 hours before Scotland kick off against the Republic. I must wear a mask at all times. I must take in all food from my microbag into a plastic bag provided by the stadium, and all the catering allowed by shop. So no fancy burgers or cartons of flat Pepsi to keep me going. When I immediately turn up to the stadium, 3 hours early, the crowds are predictably sparse. The pub outside the ground overflow with supporter wrapped in Scotland flag looked like a tempting alternative. But when I suggest to a steward that might go get a drink ahead of the game, a look of concern crosses her kindly face. Be careful which pub you're going to, she says. They will see you coming. What is she referring to? Could it be the lunchbook bag beside Grand Clutching? I have given my spare ticket to Rear Scott, my friend Alastair, who is from Edinburgh, also now 100% at home in Glasgow. We decide to take the advice and skip the pub. Inside the stadium, we encounter fan in the loudest tartan suit I ever seen, including a tiny tartan cloth bag. I pose for a photo with him and he tells me I had a tailor-made son. It fits me like a glove. It is not just COVID regulation that make this unique and peculiar European tournament. Euro 2020, as UEFA students are calling it, has also become sucked into the culture wars. The Russian football team is a symbol of nation. But that is not a straightforward task at a time when nationality is so fiercely contested. For Scotland, the pressing issue is independent. For England, it is race. English football team has decided to take the knee before matches, but each time they do it, they are booed by a significant section of their own supporters. Even the government seems uncertain about how to respond. After hesitating for a while, Boris Johnson Prime Minister condemned the booing and urged fans to get behind the team and in a complicated sort of way. Which government seems uncertain. For Scotland, Bengal football tennis today, but each time they do it, even the government seems uncertain. After Boris Johnson condemned the booing and urged fans to get behind the team. But two members of his cabinet, Jacob Rees-Mogg and Priti Patel, defended the protesters and expressing racism and condemned the Marxist of Black Lives Matter movement. Patel, British Home Secretary, accused player of indulging in gesture in politics. Played from the England team whose pre-game conference now normally confined to discussing tactics, injuries, and the atmosphere inside the game, now being asked to wear Home Secretary. It would be natural to assume that cabinet minister are better politics than footballer, but the Johnson government has reason to be worried of the clashing with the England team. Last year, it went down to an enormous defeat when it took on Marcus Rashford over the extension of free school meals for poor families. The Manchester United England force mobilized a million signatures behind the petition and forced the Johnson government to change tack. The 23-year-old Rashford preparation for 2020 included a Zoom call with Barack Obama, while plenty of tourists are prepared about work in Rashford in private. None are willing to take him in public. The culture wars of football are not just happening in Britain. When the multiracial Belgian team took the knee in Russia ahead of their opening game in the tournament, they were also booed by the crowd. Doubtless the Russians also protested against Marxism. Viktor Orban, Prime Minister of Hungary, one of the host nations for 2020, had defended fans who were visiting team, saying that Hungary this gesture is provocation. Urbanism. Urbanism saw a right-wing provocateur who has become a hero to the Trumpist right in America by showing frequent warning about elder than just European flooded by Muslims. Even some moderate conservatives are uncomfortable about football taking the knee. One prominent towards England Britain lamented to me that football is a political space, but now the national team has become a source of division. I can see what it means this year tournament. It never really brings back memories of Euro 96, when England voted to mobilize a million signatures behind the petition. When England also played their games admirably and the whole country, they seemed to get behind the team in a complicated sort of way. Back then, packed the stadium all joined in a singing of Three Lions football coming on. Now the stadiums are largely empty and some of the home crowds actually bring their place. For somebody who has been to many England games over the years, I know that the team was never mixed up with politics or race and illusion. As a largely empty somebody who has been doing race and illusion. Just some of the far right of but as somebody who has been to many England games over the years, I know that the idea that the team was never accepted without politics or race an illusion. England games have always attracted a substantial number of Saudi hooligan and far-right supporters whose trademark chant is no surrender to ILA. That the last European Football Championship in France in 2016, the ugly tradition of English football hooliganism re-emerged. When I remarked to another fan that I didn't particularly enjoy being caught up in a near riot, outsider Bayern Mark says I was told curtly, if you don't like it, you should stay at home and watch the game on television. Football grind in the 1970s, where I saw the most of a racism that I ever witnessed. It was routine to see black flags by booze and monkey noises. So football authorities and commentators were silent about this for many years. So if the current national side would want to make a statement about racism, it is hard to accuse them of bringing police into a political space. The police, particularly the racial police, have always been there. The identity issues are already different for Scotland. Euro 2020 comes as the Scottish government is ramping up demand for a second independent referendum. This is the first major international tournament the team has qualified for since 1998, neatly fitting the narrative of national revival. Arriving in Scotland for the first game of the tournament, I find the local paper full of optimism. In recognition of the enormity of the occasion, the Scottish government has even allowed school staff lessons to allow the kids to watch the game against Texas lives. As a visiting English fan, I wonder how I feel about all this. I grew up supporting Scotland in big international tournament. I had little option since England failed to qualify for the World Cup 74 and 1978. But British identity was less complicated back then. Back the state all joined the singing of the Lion. The anthem played. I'm loving Scotland for the freaking. I find the local paper about it. I find the local paper. The Scottish government has even allowed schools staff lessons to allow the kids to watch the game against Texas live. As a visiting English fan, I wonder how I feel about this. I grew up supporting Scotland in big international tournament. I had little options since England failed to qualify for the World Cup 1974, 78. But British identity was less complicated back then. The anthem played for the Scotland side that lined up to play Brazil in 1974 was God Save the Queen, although the recording does not show the Scottish player looking particularly delighted. But today the team will be belting up lost Scotland law with a stern word that can still rise and be the nation again. When Scotland qualified for the World Cup in 1974 was 73, there were more than 90,000 people in Southampton, but today, thanks to COVID, it's a little over 9,000. Far from the joyous return to the big time that has been advertised, it feels pretty black and lonely in a sense. There were more than 90,000. With the ceremony against Denmark when Scotland qualified for the World Cup in 1973, there were more than 90,000 people in Southampton, but today, thanks to COVID, it's a little over 9,000. Far from the joyous return to the big time that has been advertised, it feels pretty black and lonely on the stand. Even if the Tartar army has been reduced to a little more than a couple of battalions, they built up lost Scotland loud enough to drown out conversation. The team started the game with all the expected passion and stream forward. Their captain Dale Burson can be seen gesturing to his player to calm down. Then the Czech score and they are sucked out of the stadium. At halftime, which I choose spending the toilet next to hand dryer, the warmest spot in Hampton, there's hopeful chatter around the window that Scotland might be able to turn this round, but only in the second half, boys was made by the Czech. Petrusik, the team center forward, gets the ball on the halfway line and floats over the Scottish goalkeeper into the net. It is one of the most brilliant goals any of us will ever witness. The crowd is now almost totally silent, apart from a tiny group of cheering Czechs on the other side of the stadium, and a group of children near me who continue happily shouting for Scotland, while other around them was thrown in horror. After the match, Alastair reminds me that Scottish fans used to be their disappointment. Making the national football team a symbol of the nation is double-edged sword. We imagine them scoring wonderful goal and celebrating fans, but what if your goalkeeper floundering on his back tangled them the net? Euro 2020 has already delivered humbling setback for two football match popular leaders. Orban gave permission for a capacity crowd to attend Hungary's opening game in Budapest against Portugal, only to see the nation side lose 3-0. This September, President of Turkey traveled to Azerbaijan and sat in a place of honor next to the prison, from where he was able to see Turkey go down to a 2-0 defeat against Wales. The England team disappointed fans almost as reliably as the Scots, just slightly later in the day. The England team also have a heavy disappoint their most ardent fan. The side often portrays as the embodiment of what we like to believe our national characteristics, courage, calmness, and depression. In fact, as a recent piece by Donald Lee in The Guardian pointed out, England are uniquely bad at holding a lead in tournament. The numbers seem to suggest that they might be even battler, and that all has the French Italians are much better at holding their nerve when they take leads. If Gareth Southgate, the England made can somehow break this cycle and turn England into winning outfit, he will evidently provide a huge boost to the unsung government that is desperate for symbol of successful Brexit. But Southgate has subsequently unmistakably positioned himself to the left of the government on taking the knee. He leads a multiracial team and has a continued defend their right to make statements on subjects other than football. It has become accepted reason that culture wars always work better for the right than the left. A poll taken across Europe than the left. But football may be an exception. A poll taken across Europe before 2020 showed 54% of English football fans supported taking the knee, with 39% opposed. If the England team keep winning, the number in favor may rise along with the team's popularity. But once the right may find itself on the wrong end of culture war for the duration of Euro 2020, I will care much less about who wins the culture war than who wins the tournament. For Scotland, Euro 2020 began with a deep-flying defeat. The side often portrayed the England team disappointed fans almost as just lovely as the Scots, just slightly later in the day. On the other hand, this is a real tournament. It's taking place in the middle of pandemic, and the stadiums are quite full, and England are playing helplessly. I am allowing myself to read this outcome of the lot. England victory.